So I have a question about Tusk, how you got Johnny Depp. I know you're like super excited about that. And I was wondering if you ever like talked to Johnny Depp after the movie, if like you've got his input on how it went and just like...
Yeah, I believe it or not, he made a whole ass movie after that with us as well. So we did Tusk, and then like 6 months later we did Yo-Gozers, where we played the same character. He loved it. Like he loved, I don't know how I felt about Yo-Gozers. But I know he loved fucking Tusk. When he came out to play, he gave it, clearly if you've seen the movie, 1,000%. Like when he showed up that day to do his first scene, because we had shot most of the movie, and I hadn't shot any of the Guy Lapointe stuff, because I was kind of hoping it would be him. And then he gave us a commitment, and we could shoot in Los Angeles, shot the whole movie in North Carolina, except for all the Guy Lapointe stuff. So when he was coming the next day, like my kid had told me, Harley, I put her in a brief scene, and she was like, Lily Rose is coming to watch me act tomorrow. And I was like, really? She said, yeah, she thinks it's weird that, like, you know, she's known me her whole life, she's known her dad her whole life, and here we are acting together. She just wants to see what that would look like. And I was like, well, if she's gonna be there, like, it's fun to watch people act. It's way more fun to act yourself. Like, ask her if she wants to be in the movie, and we'll put her in the scene with you and shit. And so her mom, Vanessa, who's like a Chanel model and a recording artist, she's like famous everywhere but America, world famous and shit. I asked her, and she was like, I'm all for it, but you gotta, you know, ask Johnny. And so I sent him an email that night going, hey man, like your kid's gonna be on set tomorrow watching Harley act. And, you know, let's be honest, man, our kids are never gonna get real jobs. So let's cast them as workers in a movie just to see what it would look like, you know? Like, so if you're up for it, like Lily Rose could be in the flick. And I didn't hear from him. He didn't write back that night, so I thought maybe he thought it was a bad idea. So the next day on set, it's the first day we were gonna shoot with him, and a PA was like, Mr. Depp wants to see you. And I was like, Johnny's dad is here? And they're like, no, that's Mr. Depp is Johnny. I said, oh shit. So I went to his trailer and I knocked on the door, and they were like, come in. And so I stepped up, and he was in the makeup chair in his trailer, and his makeup artist was working on him. He was faced away from me. And he turned the chair, and I don't know if you've seen Tusk, but he's got this fucking big ass prosthetic nose. And so he was like, what do you think? And I was like, oh shit, you weren't kidding. Like last night, you know, or last week, he was just like, can I bring my makeup artist? And I was like, yeah. I was like, you really did go for fucking makeup, man. That's a full ass prosthetic nose. He goes, what do you think? And he's going like this with it. And I was like, I think it looks great. And he goes, no. Don't you think it looks like a dick? I was looking at it, I was like, you know what? It kind of does look dick-like, man. It's bulbous tip, and there's fucking shafty nature to it. Like, yeah, I can kind of see that. And he goes, would you mind? And I was like, would I mind what? He's like, well, we're talking about painting a blue vein down the side, and then putting a little cut in the tip of my nose. And I was like, are you telling me you want to wear a dick on your face? In Tusk? If you were ever gonna wear a dick on your face, Tusk is the fucking movie to do it, man. So he came with the spirit of like anarchic fun. And just like when he had read it, even before he read it, like I texted him just to be like, hey man, like, you know, it's Kevin Smith, Harley's dad, because that's who I am in that world. And I was like, you know, he'd given me his number 3 years prior, like, because he was taking the kids to Coachella. And he was like, I'm taking the kids to Coachella, here's my number if you need to ask me anything. I was like, I can ask you right now before you go. He's like, what? I was like, can I go to Coachella with you? And he was like, you're so funny, Silent Bob, and they fucking left. So I had his number forever, and so I reached out to him, and I was like, hey man, like, I never thought I would do this. I was like, but I have a part in this movie that, like, I honestly, I know you probably hear this all the time, but like, I think you were fucking born to play this part, man. And I wrote this long ass text and explained what it was, and I sent a link to a blog that I had written about the movie and the podcast so you can hear where it all came from and shit. And then I waited. I was like, well, I guess sooner or later he'll text me back, maybe tomorrow. 3 fucking dots came up. And I was like, well, somebody's reading this shit right now. And they're about to respond and shit. And the response came, and it was so beautifully poetic. The dude's like Lord Byron. He's like a really good writer. Very, very like frilly. And he wrote, fascinating. This sounds like something I would care to swim around in. Color me intrigued. And I was like, we got him. So he came out and fucking just played his heart out. We only worked together for those 2 days. On Yoga Hosers, we did 5 days. But he was absolutely lovely. And I remember like 2 years after Tusk, him saying like he's going, I was at a show last night, because you know, he's a musician as well. Because he's way more into music than he is into fucking films and shit. So he was like, I was doing a show last night, and somebody in the front fucking row was wearing a homemade Guy Lapointe shirt. And he's going, and I'm staring at it because I was like, I think that's me. He's like, and then I realized I was in your fucked up walrus movie. And that's what I was looking at, was my face from the movie. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, yeah, there are. I was like, it took a while, but there are some Tusk fans out there. He's like, I meet them all the time. They're very happy to tell me about it and shit. He's like, they tell me most of the things I've done they don't give a fuck about, but they like the walrus movie. And I was like, see, I get the opposite of that. But he was absolutely lovely. You know, we talked about if we were gonna do moose jaws that he would get eaten by a moose. Like, cause we talked about on set, he's like, what are you doing after this? I was like, I want to do moose jaws. He's like, what's that? I was like, well, it's Jaws, but with a moose instead of a shark. And he goes, can I get eaten by a moose? I was like, fuck yeah. And so sooner or later, I gotta circle back and kill Johnny Depp with a moose. It'd be fun.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, thanks a lot.